Well, let's talk now to historian and political campaigner Tariq Ali about the situation in Iraq. Mr. Ali, thank you for joining us. 10 years on from the US-led invasion. Are things better or worse, do you think, for the people of Iraq?
Much, much worse. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think those of us who warned before this war started, before the United States and Britain and their allies went in, that this would be the result, that it would lead to absolute mayhem, were proved right. Now we've got information, declassified information coming out, saying that the neocons who were running the United States at the time wanted Iraqi oil. And they were annoyed it was still nationalized, and they wanted to privatize it. This is now a well-known fact. No one challenges it. So all the guff about weapons of mass destruction, we now know, as some of us said at the time, that the intelligence agencies of the United States and Britain themselves are not convinced about this, that they were being forced and pressured by politicians to prettify the information, to give them an excuse. This has all come out, and no one has been tried for lying, for war crimes. I mean, 25% of the British population want Blair tried for war crimes. So we have these double standards going, and the figures given in the Western press of between 120, 150,000 people killed are grotesque. The government put into place by the occupation themselves say that there are 5 million orphans in Iraq.
OK, there are a lot of negatives there that you've talked about, but have there been any positives at all? After all, the former British Prime Minister Tony Blair said the invasion did get rid of a tyrant. Have things not improved at all for the people of Iraq, who were politically repressed, weren't they, before the invasion?
They didn't have democracy. They were ruled by a one-party state. That is absolutely true, but their living conditions were better. Not just in Baghdad, but in other cities as well, despite the sanctions, which were meant to crush them and which led to the death of, over 500,000 children, because medicines were denied to them even before the war. The attempt to crush Iraq had been going on a long, long time. Despite that, the social infrastructure of the country had been repaired after the first Gulf War. Medical, health, medical, educational facilities were functioning. There were food subsidies. People weren't starving. So, one shouldn't exaggerate, but compared to what is going on now, the social situation of the people was much better. Politically, what we have now seen is the occupying powers coming in and doing what imperialism does all the time, divide and rule, creating a big, huge divide by giving the Shia clerical parties total power, destroying the old state completely, and the result is what we still see on the streets today. OK, Mr. Ali, so do you believe that the West then has sort of failed to learn the lessons from Iraq, given that it's still meddling, if you want to use that word, in conflicts in North Africa and the Middle East, such as in Libya and Syria? They certainly have. I mean, what they did in Libya on a minor scale was not that different from Iraq. Here, they were even more hypocritical because they'd been treating Gaddafi as a world statesman. He'd been giving money to politicians, governments, institutions in Britain, France, the United States, elsewhere, and suddenly they saw an opportunity to privatize Libyan oil, and they went in, and the NATO bombing of Libyan cities for 6 months, we still have no casualty figures. So, and mercifully, an open intervention in Syria has been stopped, but the situation there is pretty grim. But they have learned no lessons at all. The great empires of the world act only in their own interests. They do not act in the interests of the people they invade or occupy. History teaches us that.
OK, Mr. Ali, we will have to leave it there. Thank you, though, very much for your insight and your time. That was Tariq Ali, an historian and political campaigner.
Thank you.